Hi, welcome to Urban Insights. I'm Jayashree Kurup. In the past year, the cost of construction has risen by 11%, estimates the global real estate consultant Colliers. Now, the labor cost was the most significant cost, and the cost of core materials seems to have been either stagnant or gone down. Cement, steel prices fell. Now, why is this important? Because I also have one more piece of information that residential prices rose because consumers are asking for better built quality and amenity rich gated communities. This comes straight from the Collier's report. And discussing this and the interest in construction materials, building materials, the finishing products are two very important people for me. Amit Malhotra, he's the founder and CEO of McCoy Mart, and there's Rishabh Agarwal from Ventino Windows. Rishabh has been running his own podcast, educating consumers in the various construction materials and their usages. So, thank you both of you for joining us. Let's start with Amit. Amit, tell me, what is the consumer interest in building materials? Has it gone up, gone down? Are they indifferent to it? How do you see it?
I think this stems back to awareness and education spread of the categories which are the most expensive, which goes into a consumer's house. So, of late, you see tile people doing a lot of marketing. Then you always had the people from sanitary ware marketing for the longest time, Jaguar and so on. Thanks to the UPVC industry becoming sizable, I think close to just UPVC is about $1 billion industry. They have thousands of manufacturers. More and more manufacturers are reaching out to more and more consumers. It is the top ranked construction building product looked at from the internet perspective, from on the internet, on Google. So as the home construction, like you mentioned, the quality and blah blah. मतलब quality के लिए पहले you have to be aware कि quality का definition क्या है. अभी भी we are very far away from the definition of quality. I'll give you an example without naming anybody. You go to Punjab and you go to Mr. Kapoor's house, and Mr. Kapoor wants a better house than Mr. Chavda. And then Mr. Chavda wants a better house than Mr. Bansal. And they say, पैसे जिन्ने भी ले लो कोई गल नहीं, better लाओ जी. So the supplier says, हाँ जी better ला देंगे जी, no problem. But better का definition नहीं है. And this is just lack of awareness. And the customer eventually gets, I won't say the word fooled. It's all very word of mouth. It's very trust oriented. So if I am the best of something that I know and you trust me and I'm wrong, then everybody who trusts me is gonna get folded. If you don't mind, I'll share a very recent example. My brother-in-law lives in the US. My sister come comes to India after signing a contract with the builder to do their house G+4. A builder is there, he's making this house and made a specification sheet, which I checked as well. I corrected it as well. And I left it at that because it's not what wasn't my. Anyways, he's here now for the last 1 month. I think he's been around. He's become a contractor himself. He knows कि sanitary piping 300 रुपए मीटर की होती है, AC fitting 200 रुपए मीटर की होती है, because हर level पे he has been misguided. And for example, an air conditioning brand like in came to his house and said, "Boss, you can't put an air conditioner in the shaft." And you have 4 floors in a building. Simple, stupid example. 5 फुट by 5 फुट की shaft है. उसमें अगर 3 AC पर फ्लोर लग गए और 4 फ्लोर में 12 AC लग गए तो वो तो सब फट जाएंगे. Now this is common sense, right? But for whatever reasons, the builder must have done this to save money, or it has to do with money because that's something he's providing. So I think from an awareness side, a lot of work needs to be done on every element of the house. Same house. I said put double glazed windows. The guy said these are glazed windows. Glazed means glass. I said, dude, this is single glass. It's not even tempered. He said, "तुसी क्या सी glass दी window लानी है? अपना glass दी window we put." And now, what is glazed? Google it, man. Glazed means glass. So the connotation, abbreviation, and reality. The customer who is an employed person doesn't have the time, यार, वो अपने पैसे कमाने में. So I think with what you're trying to do and what Rishabh is probably trying to do is all about spreading awareness. But this is responsibility of the manufacturer. I really appreciated Daikin as a company when their sales guy said, "I will not sell you AC to this house. If you buy an AC from the market, I will not get you a warranty. I have blacklisted your house. This house is blacklisted in Daikin. And four guys came and they all said, sorry, we will not sell. If we really want to deliver quality, the supplier himself has to take the stand and say, मुझे ये माल अगर एक क्रिटिकल एप्लीकेशन में मैटर करता है, लेट्स से विंडोज, ऋषभ विंडोज बना रहे हैं, नहीं फिर सेल्स के साउथ फेसिंग ईस्ट फेसिंग, यहाँ से लाइट बहुत आती है तो यहाँ पे डबल ग्लेज फॉर एग्जांपल, या मेन रोड पे है तो यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट इट्स 3 ट्रैक विंडो, द सप्लायर हैज टू से नो. दैट इज आई थिंक देयर आर टू वेज टू लुक एट एवरीथिंग, राइट? ऊपर से देखो नीचे से देखो. आई थिंक कस्टमर मिलियंस में है, सप्लायर मिलियंस में नहीं है. दे कैन कंट्रोल दिस पार्ट ऑफ सेइंग ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए एंड दे शुड पुल आउट. बट क्या सबके पास काम नहीं है इतना, तो इट्स अगेन चिकन स्टोरी, राइट?
Okay, let's go to Rishabh. Rishabh, you had been your family business is building materials and so on, and you've been interacting with consumers, end consumers. When you started your own podcast, what drove you to that, and what is the interest level among consumers? Amit says it is a very transactionary thing. People are getting misguided, and they have to step in and figure out what the specifications are. What is your experience?
One of the biggest things that I realized very early on was that my own team was not trained properly. So the podcast became a podcast later. It was actually nothing but a training manual initially. So I thought I'll write up a training manual, give it to them to study on a Sunday or a Saturday, and then maybe ask them what they've studied on Monday. Then I realized कि बॉस अगर ये पढ़ लेते तो ये बेचारे ये जॉब नहीं कर रहे थे, they would have done something better than this, right? So I'm training them in the very basics of a product. Now, for example, a certain tile adhesive has to be used in a certain manner for a certain height of or a certain weight of a product. Uh, then I realized, okay, maybe I can record this. Then maybe I can create some audios for it, and that will be easy for them to do. Somebody told me if you're recording audios, then why don't you put them on YouTube? I started doing that. 5 episodes later, I met a couple of people who were actually then Turkey earthquake happened, and then we did that. Uh, but I want to add on to what Amitji said, and it is actually it rings a very sound bell when suppliers or vendors, when it comes to us guys who are installing the services for somebody. The one reason that I realize that somebody will stop and put a hard stop and say no to doing a wrongful product is when they have to give a service later on for that product to the consumer. अगर हमें वो सर्विस नहीं देनी है, then I think, and if you're just doing the job and getting out of it, most of the brands don't care. The idea is just about to make a sale, put the product in, get your money, and get out. It's kind of like how the builder sells his floor. But now there's a hand holding with the builders as well. Now there is a time that they give, right? Reputed builders even give up till 5 years of hand holding in some areas. It's a part of RERA now, right? So unless and until you have to service the customer later, nobody's going to say no. And it's actually a very valid thought. Like, I think a no is very important in delivering quality. Uh, the podcast, however, revealed a lot more things to me. I thought people had a lot of knowledge. I genuinely thought that there was a lot of knowledge within the construction industry. And I have no regrets in saying this that some of the best builders did not know what they were building. It was a means to an end. It was a real estate deal for them. It was a buy low and sell high sort of a thing. Revamp it, put the best marble, which shines the most, but they don't know how it's put. They don't know how to genuinely build right the first time. So over the last year and a half, I've started saying, and it's similarly on the lines of what Amiji said, but I have started asking people to build it right the first time. Do you know the repair cost of in India, general repair costs in India is 5% of the GDP value. Total repair cost in India is 5% of the GDP value. 3.7 trillion, we are looking at the GDP right now, 3.75, 5%. लगभग 20,000 करोड़ रुपया हम देख रहे हैं जो सिर्फ रिपेयर में जाता है, जिसका मेजर चंक is concrete and construction, civil construction. So we are looking at a construction pace right now which is very, very fast, but we are not looking that build it right the first time sort of an approach.
I want to add to what Rishabh is saying, just to interject. The fact of the matter is to do it right and to do it wrong. The cost is similar. Maybe there's a 5-7% up and down variance, but knowledge ही नहीं है सही करने का, तो गलत करो या सही करो, cost is the same. And like what Rishabh is saying कि उसको ढंग से करने में the cost of labor today and maybe 5 years from now will be double. And it's like a classic case. I'm sorry if I interjected this. The thought point came. Why people like to use a certain sealant, the McCoy soda, the largest sealant producers in the country. They prefer to buy the right sealant because वो तो 100 रुपए की बॉटल है और एक 90 की है और एक 110 रुपए की है. But the cost of redoing that sealant, if it's not done well, is 1,000 rupees for labor plus the cost of sealant plus traveling plus going and coming. So it's and the pain. And the customer will be upset because if the window leaked, then the bloody water will go in and then the dampness will come. So the overall छोटा सा window का accessorizing and making sure that it's perfectly done. And like what Rishabh is saying, first time. But knowledge नहीं है तो first time right and wrong नहीं पता है तो फिर you follow whatever comes your way.
So, who has to have this knowledge? Where does this sequence begin? The customer, the the worker who lays the products, or is it the contractor who says that I do this, or is it the manufacturer who says I will train the plumbers, the electricians, and so on who use my product?
I want to take the customer side first, and Amiji, you can add because I really want to say this. Uh, I think that by the time the customer really learns how it is supposed to be done, I think the job is done. काम खत्म होने के बाद पता चलता है कि सही तरीका क्या है. But yeah, I think in your experience, you would know better.
No, but I tell you, I give you an example from 15, 16 years ago. I was coming back, I was flying out of Shanghai to Delhi. And when you reach the Pudong airport, when it was made, there were like hundreds of big glass buildings on my way. The lights were on, but I really couldn't see anybody inside those buildings. So the translator who I used to hire to help me translate. So I asked her, I said, dude, I see these buildings, I've seen them twice, and I don't see anybody inside. She said, yeah, maybe they were built in the late 90s and they're very expensive, so people don't rent them. So I'm wondering, okay. Anyways, inquisitive, curious by nature, next time I stopped. And I went around and I asked, and they told me that this building power bill is a lot, electricity bill is a lot. They all had single glass and it was not reflective. And the electricity cost was 10x the amount that it should have been. So then I understood that if you were double glazed this building at that time and you'd use the right type of glass, you would have had a 1x electricity bill. So the cost of rental is 100 rupees a square feet, but the cost of electricity is 50 bucks a square foot. So who's going to pay for that? I remember coming and meeting a famous builder in Delhi and I told him this exact story that boss, 10 साल के बाद तेरी बिल्डिंग खाली पड़ी होगी तो तू उसी हिसाब से आज बना ताकि 10 साल के बाद भी चले और 50 साल के बाद भी चले. तो he just listened to me and I said, maths है, simple है, गुप्ता बन जा भाई, सुमन दिमाग लगा. Think about it from that rationale, from a banya rationale, with no disrespect. And he changed his spec, and today all the buildings that the developer does is all with double laminated glass because his clients are there for 30 years already, or maybe more. And that is an effect, but it isn't catapulted. With each customer, his understanding level I'm talking from a builder perspective, every customer thinks, like you're saying, बना के निकल गए, but Rera, Jayashree, just to remain focused on the question you asked me, every level, the brand, the manufacturer, the supplier, the customer, there has to be an effort on all the ends to be able to educate.
Let me now take a premium brand. Let's take a Jaguar. Premium brand, expensive in the market. A consumer says, "I want the best." I go and pick up a Jaguar, or I pick up premium products. For me, the ones that I know the best are the most premium, right? But if that premium product is not laid right, or it's not the right product for my kind of use, who is to tell me this? And Rishabh, here I'd like to bring you in because probably these are the kind of questions that you are addressing, right?
Fair, but why do you think these companies are training plumbers? That's why they're training them. That's why they're doing those ground level jobs which were actually never theirs to be done. They never imagined when they started manufacturing quality products that they'll actually have to tell the masters how to actually install them. Companies like Tata Steel are telling bar benders how to bend the steel properly. Uh, UDMA, the UPVC Door Windows Manufacturers Association, they are training manufacturing teams how to manufacture UPVC windows properly. They've in fact started a facility right there to train these people and then hire them. Three now. So brands, it's not just I don't. And unfortunately, in India, the brand's responsibility today is not just to manufacture quality product, but now it has also become educating the masses. And in a way, that becomes an outreach program that also helps with the marketing, that also helps with connecting to the audience and the consumer. One of the products that I want to talk about is this very lowly plaster of Paris brand. It is the biggest POP manufacturer in the country right now. And the reason they are the biggest is because they started at the village level. So they were not allowed to. There was an MOU signed between the owners because he was a OEM for a big brand, and the big brand basically told them you cannot sell in Delhi or the metros. So what he said was great. He's like fine. He understood the pulse. अब पीओपी लगाता कौन है? पीओपी लगाता है पेंटर या पीओपी वाला? वो कहाँ रहते हैं? वो गांव में रहते हैं. He started his branding and all his movements and social causes from the villages, and he trained them how to do it. Nobody POP means that brand today. If you want, I can take the name of the brand. Sakarni.
Okay. And okay, now the brand has trained its layers, the plumbers and so on, and the masons. But what about when a consumer, we have a lot of unengineered construction in our country, right? You don't always go to an architect or a structural engineer when you are redeveloping and so on. There is a contractor who was a mason who has become a contractor, and now he says, I will do the entire job. When a consumer goes for any kind of redevelopment or even builder floors and things like that, how are there any thumb rules that the customers should use to understand whether the products have actually been fitted properly?
It's a difficult question to answer because you have excavation, you have foundation, you have basement, you have waterproofing, electrical, PVC, plumbing, piping, windows and doors, internal doors, HVAC, terrace roof waterproofing, to paint, to facade, to cladding, to sanitary ware, to LT cables of different varieties, to switches and sockets, to automation, and the list goes on. So, bhai, it's impossible. So, the architect, the builder, आर्किटेक्ट तो पढ़ा लिखा आदमी होता है बिकॉज उसको क्वालिफिकेशन बीए आर्किटेक्चर मिलती है बट जो largely the builders are not, there is no profession called builders. I know every builder, sorry, I will rephrase. I know millions of builders across the world, and I don't know if more than two or three are civil engineers. I'm talking about builders जो घर बनाते हैं G+4 बनाते हैं. फिर आप कंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनी आप L&T और बड़े बड़े they have all qualified people. That's why you're able to get at least a certain level of quality. So जो छोटे leave the tier one cities and you go outside a periphery of tier one, everybody is a builder. A builder is nobody बस a broker पहले, फिर उसने पैसे कमाए, फिर उसने जमीन खरीदी, उसने बिल्डर बनाया और वो बोलता है मैंने 100 घर बनाए हैं. Yeah, the case that I referred was the builder when I was arguing with him. He said, सर 200 घर बनाया, मुझे क्या बता रहे हो? उसका experience is paradigm boss. 25 साल से यही काम कर रहे हैं, blah blah blah. So end of the day, customer भी थक जाता है. But to circle back to your question, I think responsibility has to lie in the hand of the service supplier, product supplier to be able to do the right job. Then there is training of those, like Rishabh was mentioning. We started Udma 2008. We started our first center in 2017 in Bhiwadi. Then Chennai, now opening one more. We are working with the Ministry of Skill Development. Jayashree, we started the CCPS movement together way back. We are opening a center at Delhi Technical University thanks to DTU, which is like the IIT, our first center. So me, Sharanjeet, we are all put together the association and putting up a center for skill. It's a long-standing job, यार. इसको, but brands are more aware. पैसे हैं आज सब बड़े brands के पास पैसे कमा रहे हैं, so they can spend. So I think lot of these areas have matured, like window, door, sanitary ware. The brands have matured, they make profit, they can spend their money on education. So ऐसा नहीं है. If take the classic of Daikin, where the supplier distributor to the Chroma guy to the Vijay sales guy selling the Daikin, he said जब तक आपका घर हम आके assess नहीं करेंगे हम आपको माल नहीं देंगे. ये अप्रोच मुझे बहुत अच्छी लगती है and I think that is the right way to go.
If I don't see your premises and I don't assess it for myself, I will not sell my products to you, right? Great. Let me go back to the Collier's report. Consumers have money to spare. They have they want their houses to be well done. They want it packed with features, all the best, and they're willing to pay for the best. Now, as a consumer, what are the few things you should do? Let's take from the plumbing perspective. What are the few things that you should be aware of so that you get good quality stuff? Let's assume you're going in for redevelopment, or you're just finishing off a good product.
As a consumer, when you're building, or as a consumer, when you're buying a built up?
When you're buying a built up or when you're redeveloping, that's the time when you actually go out and shop.
When you're buying a built up, then there are services out there which are inspection services. That makes your life really easy and it's not very expensive. There are PMCs, well established PMCs, pretty much in all four corners of India right now, who will give you these services for very cheap. And they do an extensive search, like more than 1,000 checklist points, and they will actually check the apartment for you for everything, leakages, whatnot, everything, plumbing, whatnot. But when you're building, I think one of the best things that you can do is actually select the right team at the very beginning. And I just don't mean an architect. Uh, I personally am not a big fan of having hiring a contractor that works with the architect a lot. I rather have three devils work for me, but known devils to me. If I want the control to be running within the site that I am building, but if I really want to give responsibility to someone else, I rather hire the right professionals. And some of the best ways are not just references. People just get a reference and don't visit sites. They don't go and check the work. One of the biggest follies. I have myself fallen prey to it once, and I know it for a fact that it's one of the biggest shortcomings when you select the right professionals. Uh, अव्वल बात तो ये जो आपने कहा, आधे से ज़्यादा लोग प्रोफेशनल्स हायर ही नहीं करते, तो वो एक सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है आज भी इंडियन माइंडसेट में. We don't want to pay that professional fee because it seems like an expense to us. We don't realize that the money that we're spending on that professional is actually going to save us maybe 5x more. Uh, so hiring the right professionals at the very beginning will sort your life for the rest of the project. And that can take 3 months rather than starting the work right now. You can halt your work, plan better, and go for it.
Amit, you want to add on?
One has to look at from a macro angle when you're buying. So छोड़ दो, when you're building a house or building an apartment or whatever, you probably going to spend, let's say hypothetically, let's say take a number of a crore, okay, on building a 2-3 thousand square feet place, whatever. And a consultant who's a professional, like Rishabh was mentioning, there are so many, he comes up to you or to you and he says, boss, I'm going to charge you 3 lakh rupees for blah, blah, blah. For normal human being, as a human tendency, you start weighing that 3 lakh rupees in isolation. क्या बात कर दी भाई साहब, 3 लाख रुपए में करोगे क्या आप? लाइक वो बोलेगा जी मैं ये चेक करूंगा, वो बेचारा बहुत हार्ड सेल करने की कोशिश करता है, 3 लाख रुपए में ये चेक करूंगा, वो चेक करूंगा, ये आपको. तो अगला सोचता है ये 3 लाख रुपए एक एक्सेल शीट को टिक मार्क करने का दे रहा है, मेरा काट रहा है, मैं अपने आप कर लूंगा. और वो 3 लाख रुपए ऑन अ ब्रॉडर perspective from a macro level is on a 1 crore number. So it's only 3% of the whole value, and that 3% ensures the safety of fire, water, blah, blah, blah. Then you become chindi. नहीं यार, 3 लाख आप 1 लाख में कर दोगे ना, गाय से यार. And there are people who say नहीं, हम नहीं करते जी, दफा करो. तो बस खत्म. उसके बाद you become self reliant. Then you go to Chowdi Bazaar, then you go to Admeri Gate, then you go to Kotla, then you go everywhere, and you think, bloody hell, I know everything. But dude, you can't know everything. It's impossible. You're a liver doctor of a kidney. You can't know brain. Now doctors are so specific. They're also micro specific. This is the building. It's like a house. Is your human body. There are so many components. You can't know it all.
Okay, I'll take this to one more level. When you insure your house, there are certain fine prints that are there in insurance, right? Many people, when in the event of a disaster, don't get what they get because they say that the specifications were not followed. In terms of wires, in terms of fire components, and things like that. How does a consumer understand these, and what should he do? Whom should he go to for these? Especially when I finish the house, I want to be sure that when I insure my house, in the event of a disaster, I will be paid what I should be paid.
I don't think that a house that's built outside the bylaws actually qualifies in any case. Uh, in terms of fire insurance itself, like at the time of the claim, they'll give you a checklist to prove that everything was fine at the beginning. But when they sell you the fire insurance, they won't. Uh, Fire insurance or any kind of insurance is very easy right now. They'll give it to you on any XYZ parameters, and they'll just charge you a premium for it. But when it comes to the claims, you're absolutely right. Then things need to be in place. Uh, an unauthorized, or let's say unorganized construction area, I don't think it qualifies in any case. But a building made with the right bylaws and with the right specs in place and with the right जिसका नक्शा पास है या कुछ भी everything done by the right professional, I don't think there's a challenge there. Residences don't face challenges. Commercial spaces do. Commercial spaces will run through a runt of a checklist before they actually get paid their due. It might take 6 months. It might take a year. I know it for a fact. Factories, especially, um, any industrial units which have actually later claimed insurance of any sort have not gotten them even in 2 years if the paperwork was not complete, and then it's a whole ruckus in India. But yeah, selling those insurances come very quickly. 2 days you can buy the insurance, maybe the same day, maybe within a couple of hours. But yeah, as a consumer, I think you need to be aware कि आज insurance खरीदना बड़ा आसान है, but उसको बाद में claim लेना is a big challenge. So if you can actually go and do the right thing, get the right certificates then and there, it's possible.
What are the, give me a small checklist that our users could use.
So for fire insurance, I in fact asked the insurance guy कि आप बाद में मुझसे क्या-क्या मांगोगे? So give me a checklist. There was a huge checklist, but he asked me for three things first. One of the things is that I mean, if there is provision for extinguishing fire in any sort of a way, are the airways clear so that the winds can blow both sides? Are the exits clear? Are the exit signs marked? बहुत बेसिक चीजें थी जो उन्होंने मुझसे करवा ली और फिर वो मैंने प्रॉपर्टी कमर्शियल रेंट पे चढ़ाई. I didn't rent it out before that. I actually did that later because it was going to someone else's. Now जिसने वो प्रॉपर्टी रेंट पे ली उसने अपना प्रोडक्ट तो इंश्योर कर रखा है बट मेरी बिल्डिंग इंश्योर नहीं की हुई. And he's using a three-phase meter and the bills go up to like 2 lakh rupees a month. So it's a high power consumption sort of a place where they're running a small cold storage unit in it as well. So I did that, and the checklists were not very hard to do. Uh, some of the certifications, which are government certifications, those are a big challenge if your Naksha is not already sanctioned, if the plan is not passed. That can't happen in a situation where it's already not there. And if your plan is sanctioned, then it's very simple. The bank itself tells you where you can apply, and you can just apply online, and you can actually get it within a week's time. It's a compliance certificate, basically.
It's a compliance certificate. So the your message to people is check that you have all the compliance certificates in place. Read the fine print of your insurance.
There are different tangents to this consumer that you're talking about. I have built multiple buildings, offices, commercial spaces, manufacturing plants. I have rented them. I rent them even now in India, in Saudi, in Dubai, in London, and I and like Rishabh, insurance is very cheap. The premium is very small. Insurance, fire and burglary and theft is a very small part of any insurance company's portfolio. They don't give it that much of importance. Although after the Upar tragedy and the Archana Cinema fire, at least the fire norms by the fire authorities are in place. Commercially, though, it is 100% followed with sprinklers and blah, blah, blah. In the home construction segment, there is no fire policy which is usually followed. The products, let's say, I'm telling you from, so when we started building McCoy Mart as a commerce platform, also started to learn outside of the product domain that I was in sealants, adhesives, or hardware, and so many other products, that the electrical industry takes this very seriously. So the likes of Havells, KEI, Finolex, their safety standards are very high when it comes to electrical wires and cables. Is a very sensitive product when it comes to fire safety. They are largely driven by large players, and they are very cognizant of quality with respect to fire safety. Switches. which could be a cause of fire, the short circuiting. So Siemens, Schneider, Schroeder, and all the other guys. So they're only good brands which are catering to this large market. When you go down the road, wires and cables, चाहे कोई भी middle level manufacturer भी है, he's more cognizant of safety. So as far as insurance is concerned, I think uh, this is not a big subject. Yes, in industries, plants and stuff, it is, but in homes, it's not really a subject. Window ACs was a big cause of fire.
Nobody goes for fire safety in homes, right?
Not really. Not that it's a grave subject.
Let's take the other thing that in residential is a big problem, which is seepages. You buy from the best builders, and the entire building from you know exactly where the toilets are, right? Looking at the building from outside. Uh, this is something that a lot of people want fixed. Buyers want fixed, but no matter how expensive your housing is, the chances of there being seepage is very high in today's the reality in today's market. How do you check that when you take a handover from a builder for a residential apartment?
When you're getting a handover from a contractor who's built it for you,
Either a contractor or a builder, you take it buy from a developer. Even the best developers, there is seepage in the units. How do you assess that? What has gone wrong? Is it the material? Is it the workmanship? What has gone wrong?
I think the Waterproofing Association of India will tell you that 99.95% builders don't know how to waterproof their buildings, and it's a fact. 100% buildings have some waterproofing issue. That's also a fact. It is one of the biggest deterrents to the structural integrity of your building when it comes to water seepage, because water is the biggest enemy of durability to your concrete. If it seeps into the reinforcement, then it has this cathodic anodic effect. I won't get into the technicalities of it, but the idea is that the concrete expands and it basically the life reduces like anything. It's kind of like cancer within the bones of the building. Uh, Most people like to take off the paint, redo it, and be happy with it. Most builders will do that for you too. But if there is seepage, if the source is not solved, it can never be solved. Usually, if the seepage is at the bottom, at the basement levels, I don't think you should buy those properties. Those properties are doomed because the life of that structure is not 50 years anymore. It's about 20, 25, if at all. Uh, Same situation. I unfortunately it cannot be checked at the time of handovers because this is something that shows its colors in a few months' time, which is probably why within the clauses of buying that new property and getting that new building built, you have those clauses which says the hand holding will go on to the next rainy season or a year, whichever comes first, usually. And you hold that 10% payment for.
नहीं, मैं इसका एक शॉर्टकट फॉर्मूला बताता हूँ ऋषभ। ये मैं यूज करता हूँ और ये मैंने यूज किया है। घर खरीद रहे हो, अपार्टमेंट खरीद रहे हो, कुछ भी खरीद रहे हो, पाइप्स को चोक कर दो और पानी भर दो छत के ऊपर और बाथरूम्स में, और हफ्ते के लिए पानी भर के छोड़ दो। पानी तो या बाथरूम से आएगा, किचन से आएगा, या छत से आएगा, बालकनी टेरेस से आएगा। भर दो, चोक कर दो प्लास्टर ऑफ पेरिस घुसा के, और एक हफ्ते के लिए चिल कर लो। और जहां जहां लीकेज नजर आ गई, बोल भाई ठीक करके दे दे, तब घर खरीदूंगा। मैं तो बता रहा हूँ दिस वर्क्स। और
डज वर्क, बट कई बार क्या होता है, crevice में गया हुआ पानी 3 महीने बाद दिखता है.
अग्रीड अग्रीड, बट लेट्स से जो लार्जर इशू है, लेट्स से अगर 100 पॉइंट ऑफ लीकेज है, ये वाला पार्ट एटलीस्ट 70-80 पॉइंट्स को कवर कर लेगा। हफ्ता इज अ गुड इनफ पीरियड। ऑल्दो बिल्डर्स हफ्ते के लिए खुद पानी भर के रखते हैं जस्ट टू री इंश्योर। कोई जानबूझ के गलत करता नहीं है, कोई जानबूझ के लाइक नोइंगली नोबडी डज दिस, बट ये हो जाता है। एप्लीकेशन मटेरियल सब एक जैसे हैं। वाटर प्रूफिंग, आई स्टार्टेड माई लाइफ एज अ कॉन्ट्रैक्टर यार। वाटर प्रूफिंग वॉज माई फर्स्ट धर्म एंड आई वॉज 18 ईयर्स ओल्ड। मैंने डीएलएफ अंसल पता नहीं किसके लिए काम किया, बट आई थिंक इट वाज अबाउट द प्रोसेस, द एप्लीकेशन प्लस। आपने तो वाटर प्रूफिंग करके कॉन्ट्रैक्टर की तरह चले गए, उसके बाद जो सैनिटरी वाला आया उसने छेद करने शुरू कर दिए, तो वाटर प्रूफिंग तो डैमेज हो गई। तो उसके बाद तो किसी ने री वाटर प्रूफ तो किया ही नहीं, पाइप डल गई। उसकी क्रेविस थी। जब हम पीयू फोम इंडिया में इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे थे, तो हमारा मैक्सिमम सेल वाज पुटिंग पीयू फोम इन द क्रेविसेस ऑफ द पाइप जॉइंट्स, बिकॉज दैट इज वेयर द लीकेज इज टू कम। वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर तो बोलेगा मैंने तो किया था, थी वाटर प्रूफिंग, वो खोला नीचे तो देखा वहां तो the whole layer is being chaired off because the sanitary guy did it. Then the sanitary guy did it well, the tiling guy will come, he would screw it. So there's no synergy in the three contractors, and thus these things happen.
One last question: when you look at your digital channels and you see people coming there, what are the trends that you notice today? How has digital helped the consumer?
I think I started a company called Window and Facade Magazine, WFM, 10, 11 years ago. The reason I started the company was I wanted to spread knowledge on a larger perspective to the building industry, about the building industry, to the building industry for the facade and fenestration. 11 years now, we have written, I don't know, man, thousands and millions of pages of content which are available on a platform. It has helped a lot of developers. I also co-started the ZAC exhibition and the company with Zakir Bhai, and then Ahad, his son, started the World of Facades. I used to moderate that event in India, Dubai, and so many places, and it was a panel discussion. Same subjects, yeah. You were asking who's going to take responsibility. Single point responsibility कोई ले नहीं सकता fundamentally, but end of the day, the magazine was there, and now it's converted into a media platform. The information exchange, the lot of things remain tacit, so it doesn't get published. Problems are never told. Solutions are advised, like what Rishabh is saying. Problems are there, but I think if you look around the world, there are problems. And the building industry is very unorganized. Nobody will take responsibility for other people. But I think the developer at this used to be the closing question at all the World of Facades. Who's going to be responsible if the glass falls down? Who's going to be responsible? And everybody would say, pointing fingers. I think on a broader perspective, Rera and others could actually give a single point responsibility to the developer, let's say, for example. Then he'll ensure down the line everybody is responsible. And that's the chain. बट अभी क्या है, फायर का रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी उसका है, पेंट का उसका है, विंडो एंड डोर का इसका है, और फ्लोरिंग का इसका है, तो सिंगल पॉइंट नहीं है.
Okay. Thank you so much, both of you. Rishabh, you want to add to that?
I do. Digital platform is, in fact, I would say it has a far better outreach than anything else. If there is a message or if there is any sort of a idea that needs spreading today, everybody is digital. Everybody you can reach within like a few seconds, and if they're really interested in what you're trying to tell them, I think they'll listen to you. One of the when I first got my first 1,000 followers, I was jumping like this high, and my wife was looking at me and she's like, "तू पागल हो गया है? क्या हुआ तुझे?" मैं कहा, "तुझे पता है 1,000 लोग जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ वो उनके पास जा रहा है? Do you know the power of that?" And then we crossed 1 lakh, and then we crossed 1 point. So it just went on. But it's, I think today, if you have something worthwhile talking about, stuff gets very easily relayed, and people are actually uh, assessing it and listening to it and actually spreading it. So if you have good ideas, I think digital is probably helping in formation of those ideas. Like lack of awareness was discussed, right? I think one of the best places to start is with the youth has always been one of the center of where people want to train people. But I think what I am working towards today in India right now is the revival and rehabilitation of civil engineering. I swear there is such a boom of construction happening, and universities are shutting down civil engineering as a curriculum within from their curriculum.
Because there is no demand. Because the civil engineering is the least demand engineering stream, and AICT is trying to work out why. Because this is the clearly the thing of the future.
काम तो बहुत है. So what has happened is even gentlemen like Sanjay Pant from the BIS and everybody from all these organizations go up to these colleges and tell them, boss, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this within a building. You can be a lighting engineer, you can be a, I don't know, a geotechnical engineer, you can be a structural engineer. There are so many things that you can do within a building. You don't have to just sit on the, stand on the site and get the job done. So I think it requires a revival. That is one of the messages of my podcast as well, and that is where I see a lot of youth coming around and these civil engineers wanting to be class 1 contractors. And I think there needs to be an engineers bill that will really help the future of all these guys. I think that is the need of the hour in a growing economy and the construction industry, and I'm hoping for that day in 2030 when construction industry becomes the number one contributor to the GDP, which is right now superseded only by agriculture. So let's see. Fingers crossed.
Let me add one closing remark. As WFM, one of my businesses, we're taking on this challenge to start subject matter experts with respect to windows and glass and building and so many things. Starting a series of podcasts. We need hundreds and thousands of podcasters like Rishabh, like WFM and others to spread the message, whatever subject knowledge that we have. So we're starting our first series towards the end of this month. Hopefully, should go live, and we want to be as WFM, one of my companies, we built a good strong brand for ourselves in the facade and fenestration in India and globally, and would like to take this message up as a platform. And it was one of my wish list to do was to also, I want to use social media not from social, but actually from a social right format. So yeah, but I think there's a long way to go, and we can, Rishabh, all of us guys can create a little wave of adding more special, subject matter experts. It will only help.
Yes, because consumers are interested, consumers are willing to spend, products are there, and there's a whole plethora of products in the market, but the consumer today is still confused about which one to buy. Many go for the most expensive one, many go for what is recommended by the seller, but ultimately, there's a whole channel. Buy the right product, buy the best product, get the right person to fit your product, and also the maintenance of the product over a period of time. All this matters. So thank you both of you for joining me. Thank you. Found this video useful? Please subscribe to this channel for more such videos. Do like and share with as many people as you can.